As always, don't forget to check the video description down below for the best price on parts and tools I use in today's video. It's like a store down there. We also have online repair manuals, and I've recently partnered with the school. Remember, if you know how a system on a vehicle works, you can always figure it out. So check on that, buy something. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you find value in this video, please hit that like and subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm done with all the plug stuff. Now, 2019 Dodge Ram 1500. 2500. It's a 6.7 turbo diesel. It's a Bighorn. I think that's like the little submodel. Today I'm doing the brakes, and I thought I would just go ahead and show you. On the other side, I don't think this is a stock wheel, but if it is, you got, of course, there's only two Allens. I think it'll be the ones that look metal, so it's like one there, and you take that off, and then you're gonna get your key, and you're gonna want to lift the car first, of course. And the place and way I lifted it is like this right here. So this vehicle's so big, I mean, you always want to use a jack stand, so never mind. I'm using a jack stand just like every other single time. But I lifted it right there, put my jack stand right there, and I just set it down on the jack stand a little bit, so it kind of got like even pressure. Now, oh hey, check this out, I already took the caliper off. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take this caliper off. And the way we do that is you have a 16 millimeter there and a 16 millimeter there. Go ahead, take those off. Once they're off, your caliper is going to be sitting over top of these guys. And what I do is I grab from the back and I pull towards me. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull these pistons back a little bit, and then it's going to allow me to grab it and kind of set them out of my way. Now, we're going to be looking at our brake pads, and check this out, 60,000 miles. This car's like 2 years old, and we've already got metal to metal. So this guy drives a lot. As a friend from high school, and he's got a business. He puts a whole lot of miles on this thing. So we're going to take these pads off, and the way you do that is you're going to grab hold of them just like so. If this stuff is not coming off as easy as it is for me, because I imagine 15 years down the road, this video is probably gonna be watched and they're gonna be like, it's not coming off that easy, Jordan. Dadgummit. All you gotta do for getting the caliper off is take a big flathead screwdriver, kind of stick it through while still on here, and just kind of pull it towards you. Find somewhere to prime this caliper and pull, and then while you're doing that, you'll be compressing the pistons back, and then that will allow you. That's what's holding this caliper on, is the pistons still pushing on the brake pads, and you gotta release that pressure, and that's how you do it with the flathead screwdriver. Same thing with these pads. If it's not coming off easy, just go ahead and take a flathead screwdriver, stick it down in there, pry, and you will be able to take that off. I'm actually gonna grab one. All right, I got my little screwdriver. I'm gonna just stick them in there, just kind of pry them out. Oh, and he's a little booger. Boom, like that. Now, if you're just replacing your pads, you can go ahead and start putting everything back together with your new pads. I'm gonna show you how to take the rotor off too, but basically you're just gonna stick this on here and make sure that little clip right there is kind of like a, what do you call it? It's like a spring that helps pull the pad back off of the rotor. It doesn't always do that super well, but I guess it helps. That's why I put it on there. So to get this rotor off, what we got to do is we have these freaking-normous 24 millimeter bolts here, and I just took a big old wrench, okay, and I put it on here, and then I took a big old hammer and pow pow, I beat the wrench lefty loosey. So on this side of the car, passenger side, you're gonna hit the wrench this way, or if you're up here for the top one, I hit it this way. On the other side, it's gonna be vice versa. And also, to get these bolts off, you can do the same thing with a ratchet and a socket. I always take this big ratchet, and it's a 16 millimeter, and I set it up there, and bang bang, that's how I break it loose. But once you've done that, now it's broken loose. Oh, I'll show you, I'm turning it, and now I'm gonna just take my electric ratchet, and before I do this, I set my caliper up and off of the rotor, just kind of sitting over there on the knuckle. But now I'm gonna take my electric ratchet, I'm gonna take this last one out. And then I got that top bolt off, and now this guy just kind of slides out. And then now we're looking at our rotor. Now, if it is 2019, if it's 2021 like it is for me, these pads and rotors are super, super expensive. I had to get these from the dealer because none of the local parts stores offered them. And so there's that. It's online, so there's a link below in the video description. But I want to say from the dealer, the rotors are $162 a piece, and the pads are $150 a piece, $150 per set. So use the link. But now you got all that off, and this guy just kind of pulls off. And I'm gonna try and do this one-handed. Here, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna use my legs. It's way easier with two hands, but I'm gonna work through it just so y'all can see. And we need to talk about why you would, I'm gonna have to use hands, why you would replace your rotor. My philosophy for why you're gonna replace the rotor is every time you do a set of pads. So for example, this guy knew that he got the car new, so he knew these rotors are still good, but unfortunately he ate into them. Your first brake job, I would do pads and rotors, unless you know you've had new rotors on the last time, okay? The next job, I would do pads only. The next job, pads and rotors. The next job, pads only. So what you're doing by doing this is you're making the rotors thick every time. They're not gonna warp as easily. You can get them turned. It's so affordable now, like with the online packages and stuff. It's best to just do what I just said, because you have to take the rotors off, you have to take them to a place to get them turned, and by the time all that is done, it's like, man, it's just easier, it's better, it's cheaper now. It used to be more expensive, but not anymore. So anyways, now we're gonna take this rotor off. All right, and all I did, took two hands, grab it, just slid right off, no problem. It's sitting right over there. Now, again, if this is 15 years from now and you're like, dadgummit, Jordan, mine's not just coming off that easy, what do I do? Well, you're gonna take a big hammer, okay? And you're gonna hit. You can try, because what happens is, see this rim right here and the inside rim of there, you can already see there's rust right there, and then there's rust on the inside of this rim. It'll kind of rust and stick together. So the idea of hitting it with the hammer is you're breaking the rust loose, okay? Let's say you're doing this job and you're not actually changing rotors. You don't want to start beating on the backside of the rotor. You could do that if you're changing the rotors, and it works pretty well. But you want to hit on the inside of these studs really hard, and it's going to be kind of a little scary because you might hit a stud and then screw up your threads, but you got to hit on the inside there. And if you give it enough force with everything you got, 4 pounds, what it'll do is it'll break the connection it's made with the rust, where it's kind of rusted on, by hitting it on the inside, and then you can pull your rotor off. Now, putting it back together, we're going to get our new rotor. Next, you're going to get you a can of brake cleaner. It's like an aerosol can, link below in the video description. Spray it down, take your rag, just kind of wipe it off. That'll get the grease that comes from the manufacturer so it doesn't get on your pads and all that jazz. Take your two hands, stick the rotor on there. Really, when I get big trucks, I'm like, daggum, this is going to be hard, but it's really not. The parts are just bigger. And then, well, sometimes it is actually, but this one isn't. This one's not too bad. So the caliper here, what's going on here, Jordan? Well, I'm so glad you asked. I got a C-clamp, and the pistons need to go back to their home, so you can put the caliper back on top of your new pads when you're putting everything back together. Now, how does this work? You're gonna take an old pad, you're gonna set this up, and then you're gonna twist and turn, and you're compressing the pistons back in until they get about flush right here, right? So they're gonna go from here in there, and you may have to go back and forth if you're doing it like me, because you can see I'm on the right side. What usually ends up happening is this one gets down to about here, and then I'll switch my little tool to this side. You can see I'm just hooked onto the back of the caliper, and just go back and forth and get them flat, flush all the way back. And the other thing, when you're putting everything back together, these slide pins, okay? This one is probably not that important because it's the first brake job and they still slide really good, but you can, I don't even have my grease out, but you get your little can of grease, dip it in there, and then just kind of stick it back in the hole, snap it in. It'll kind of click on the little thing. You just hold that rubber boot and pull out to get the slide pin out. But anyways, just make sure you grease those slide pins, because that's a lot of times why they'll wear unevenly, is because one of the slide pins gets stuck. Next, that is pretty much it. Just gonna put everything back together, but the last thing is before you drive the car, make sure you pump the brake pedal, because if you do not, the first time you go to hit the brake pedal, you're not going to stop. The brake pedal is going to go all the way to the floor, and whatever's in front of you or behind you is going to be hit by you. So make sure you just pump it up, give it pressure, and then the little test drive. Typically, if you take it to the shop, we're going to do a little test drive where in school they taught me 30 stops at 30 miles an hour for 30 feet or something like that, and I just do 10 stops at like 40. I get 40, I brake real hard, do it like about 10 times, and that just breaks the pad material into the rotor material, just kind of marries them, and it gets rid of all the grease, and if there's any little weird noise from it being new and everything, it gets rid of that. So anyways, that is it, guys. We have completed, well, I'm about to complete this job, and you're gonna complete it here. It's only gonna take you like an hour. Okay. All right, thanks for watching. See y'all next time.